I'm gonna add everyone. The people need to see this.
Do you have the OG tier, or are you gonna just pull up tier maker?
I have I have tier maker that we're gonna use to like put the new tiers together. I do not have the OG tiers up, but I can put them up. I can do that. I mean, we're literally live right now, but I can pull that up real
No,
quick.
you're good. I'm gonna pull it up on my screen just so I have
Okay.
where they were.
CFB tiers and more. Connor. Yeah. That's not the ampersand, Connor.
Where would this be under?
It's under CFB announcements. It's like you got to scroll a ways, but it's there.
We don't pin anything in this Discord. I guess we're still
No, we sure
like.
don't. We sure don't. That's not how we're built. Okay.
No, that'd be too easy.
I need my computer to lock in for the next couple hours.
Did we ever do the predict football champs? Was there ever a conclusion to that?
Um, what do you mean? Like the playoffs?
Yeah, the predicted college football 25 champions. Because I'm scrolling up and I see Dan had
Oh,
posted it.
yeah. I don't. I'm gonna have to ask Dan about that. I'm not sure. Oh, because I'm logged into. Okay, there we go. Dan says I have them, Warren. I'll post them whenever.
Awesome.
Um.
Dan could start his own show right now to rival our show.
Oh wow. That'd be dirty behavior out of Dan, but he could. He could. We got a bunch of comments in here. We got Matt, Boz, P Town, Justin, Dan, and that's just in the last like 30 seconds. So we are going to get this thing started. This apparently hotly anticipated show with me and Warren. Warren, obviously we'll talk about you a little bit more when we get to the. We have subscriptions coming. Matt subscribing to BLN. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you very much. Alan's in here. Phil's in here. Ben's in here. Jesus. Okay, this is gonna be like one of the most watched streams of the regular season. Warren, how we doing? How we feeling?
I mean, for 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, we got a bunch of neckbeard in here. This is wild. The show's like 10 minutes early, and so we're already like 15 deep. So I'm doing good. This is exciting. I like that the league kind of took off hot, and it's like a freight train. It really is just like steaming through. So really cool
We're
stuff.
rolling. We're rolling. I mean, it's been a great day for me. I spent 3 hours of my morning watching college football, and then I played some college football, and now I'm talking about college football. So it really is just the full suite of college football here. As we got Ben gifting a sub to Alan. Mildly disappointed he wasn't subbed already, but that's okay. Ben, thank you so much for the gifted sub again, along with Matt's and. Warren, do you want to tell the people, like, give the people kind of an order of what we're doing here? Because I have tier maker up, but it's not just tiers. So, do you want to tell people, like, what we're up to today?
Yeah, so we have a couple of things. Connor and I have been going back and forth on like what we want to go into, and I think last time like the tier show was nice. Took a long time, but we kind of want to pack in a lot of good stuff. We're gonna do some tiers. We're going to do some recruit talk, which will be neat. And I think Connor, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can have some like interactive stuff if people come up with questions or whatever they want to talk about.
Certainly.
Um, we also have questions we're gonna get to at the end, and then we have two potential coach interviews, and we're not going to reveal them until it's time. But yeah, so we have a lot of things to kind of get through. So I'm like the master at keeping things moving. At Jenna's baby shower, like she takes so long opening her gifts, like I had to like put a pause and be like, we got to get the cake going, get all the food out, let's go. So I don't know. I might need to be kept on track, but I think we had a good show.
That's okay. I mean, I am the king of yapping. I'm the king of rambling. So yeah, we'll need to keep each other kind of on point here because, like Warren just said, we got tiers of more. We got recruiting talk. We got questions, like you said. We got well, really, that's it. Yeah, it's tiers, recruiting, questions, and we might have some coach interviews along the way too, depending if the timing works out. We do potentially have the Illinois coach Alex and the Kentucky coach Troy lined up for some interviews, but that's in the future. For now, we move on to tiers. Obviously, Warren, we did our first tier show when no one had played a single snap, no one had played a single game of this of College Football 25, and now we know a lot more. Obviously, a lot of people still trying to kind of figure out their identities on both sides of the ball. Obviously, some people do not necessarily have the best team fit in terms of the schemes they want to run, so people get the recruits in here. We'll see maybe more actualized versions of some of these guys in like seasons 3, seasons 4. But what's your like before we get into specific teams? What is your general like high level impression, Ben, of like where the league's at? As we're now just over halfway, I would say, done with our first season.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the crybabies in a minute when it comes to
Oh
team,
wow.
but I think we saw a couple of like ebbs and flows, right, from the initial like launch of the game. And I had said this somewhere where, I'm sweating my butt off, playing these like head-to-head games, and then someone's like, like doing Georgia Southern recruiting 3 stars and like for the like 9 days in a row. So I think the first couple of games we can kind of scrap and really look to the last few games as people start to round into form, because I think initially people, there's probably about half the league was not ready just to dive into like super sweaty, college football gameplay. So I think
Yeah.
everyone's kind of gone through that experience now.
Yeah, you see that in most. I think with Troy is like his first 2 losses, he just looked really, really bad. Honestly, like he threw a million picks. He lost bad to me, lost bad to Morty, and since then he's looked like one of the better users in the league. Like he
Yeah,
made
you look
things
like one of the
work,
worst players of all time.
and
As in, we were DMing. I was like, dude, I thought you were like the worst player. Like, what happened? But
yeah.
like again, it's a new game and no abilities, new teams, new everything. So it's really cool to see how things are kind of shaping up.
So I don't. I have CMAS and Dan telling me to F11 for full screen. I don't have F11 on my laptop. This is a Dell laptop. I'm not seeing F11 anywhere. So I feel like I've had this conversation with y'all before. I cannot full screen this. So shout out SoundCloud. Shout out to the many ads we're gonna see along the way. But this will not be full screened. But we will at the end of this. We will post the official, I guess halfway through season 1 tiers into college football announcements. Alt F11. I don't have that, Dan. I don't even have an 11 on here, so
Jan's hijacking the show. He's just gonna make you press prompts like he used to go into like you just make people get like boot themselves off. I respect it.
he's gonna have to shut down this computer without even realizing. But we move. We're gonna start. We started with the SEC last time, so we're going to start now with the ACC. We begin the CMAS's Clemson Tigers. Obviously, his game against West Virginia was like the first game he ever played. He's been a little up and down since then, and I have the same tiers like title contenders, playoff race, fringe playoffs, the famous frisky tier, mid and bottom dwellers. Where do you see CMAS's Clemson Tigers right now?
Shout out to the Frisky tier first before we get
Yes.
into it. My favorite tier of all time. Um, yeah, so CMS sitting at 4-4, ranked 13, probably will drop. He started off 3-1, but lost 3 out of the last 4, and then has the dreaded bye week. Doesn't get easier after his bye. He's got Louisville, Minnesota, Bama, bye, South Carolina. So this could be a complete spiral for Clemson.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
that's
really, really rough. I would like to say playoff race. I would like to say fringe playoffs, but like I think I think this is frisky because that schedule is
oh
brutal,
man,
brutal, brutal.
yeah, and
And
I'm
if you say he splits, it's not that's frisky. That's not even fringe.
yeah, and I'm glad you have like the schedules up and the rankings up because I do not. I have them like at the very end of this when we predict playoffs, but I don't have it up right now, so I'm glad you're coming with like the records and the schedule and all that. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of how he actually is as a user, I would probably say fringe playoffs, but yeah, I think you have
Yes.
to go down to frisky. I mean, even like just within his conference, like Morty has clearly had a better season than him. King's clearly had a better season than him. There are a couple of guys that he's kind of like lagging behind. Troy has had a better season than him, so it is tough, and it's gonna be a really hard path unless. I mean, the good thing is he does have kind of a bunch of marquee matchups coming up, so if he can win even some of those, he could find himself like bouncing off the rankings. But
That's a great
that's pretty
point.
frisky.
I mean, all four teams are top 10.
Yeah,
So if there's a time, if there's a time to do it, it's both good and bad, but probably good in the sense that he wins, splits. Maybe he's got a chance, but we'll see.
yeah, absolutely. Nick's Notre Dame, love him. Boston brother, Miami brother. He's 0-8, and I do not see the path to even one win based on what I've seen this season.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. Respect. Hold on. Respect to Nick. All right, we have so many crybabies that come in
Mm,
with whatever team. Oh, like my team stinks. Oh, like what? Like they
mm,
get they're recruiting good. They got players. They lose one game and it's like the end of the world. And that's what happens when you think like you're better than you are. That people get this sort of mentality of like they get this mentality of like, oh, I should win all these games. And so many people have been handheld by Madden abilities for however many years that
Mm.
like when we're playing a game with very limited abilities, they're just like having like meltdowns. So shout out to Nick for not being a baby at all and being a brick and just, you know, hey, gets his games played, never the last game. He's doing what he's got to do, and yeah, I honestly respect for that because you need Knicks in the league. You need people who are not going to cry, after every single loss and blame the game and write 3 paragraphs about how their O line didn't block.
We will get to some of the crybabies later, ladies and gentlemen. That's later, not yet. But yeah, bottom of dollars. But shout out to Nick. He's vibing. He's having a good time. And honestly, he's given a couple guys scares. Like his game against Louisville King was by only 1 score, so that's cool. He's keeping a couple games close, and hopefully, like I hope he can get a win on the board before the season's over.
Yeah, we all do. Like, and whoever he beats, like that person, like they're gonna get dumped on, and respectfully they should. So I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah. Kings, Louisville Cardinals. Now we did have him identified. Dan, I just called you Dan. We did have him identified Warren as a potential guy who could
F11.
really surprise in terms of like didn't necessarily do a ton in Madden, but he's a college football coach. He's really been on the grind, and he finds himself, I believe, right now leading the ACC, or at least it's in second, if I recall correctly. But he's been really, really impressive. Lost to you, but other than that, he's like really been kind of establishing what he wants to do. To me, he is either top of playoff race or bottom of title contenders. But I'm curious, since you've actually played him, I'm curious what you have to say.
Absolutely insane. A 7-1 start for Louisville. I mean, 85 overall, 84 offense, 86 defense, and we got everyone else. I'm not going to say the word so Boz doesn't get drunk. Like, no complaints, no nothing. Just
No.
football being played. Schedule has been a little. I don't say it's soft, but it's been King has not played like a bunch of killers yet, but he has played people decent records. Biggest win against 6-2 Florida. He beat the piss out of Willie. I don't know if Willie's recovered since then, but 7-1 is pretty insane. And for a don't say mid-tier program, but for a 3-star program, like that's wild. So props to King for that. He's got the easy matchup against Oregon, then he's got Clemson, Arizona, and Kentucky to finish. So I'm okay putting him in title contenders just because I can't, 7-1. What are we talking about,
Yeah, I think I am too. I mean, it would be surprising to me, like honestly, if he were to go on that run and like ultimately, beat like whoever, like you, Dan, Wozy, maybe beat those 3 guys back to back to win it. But like, it's not impossible. Certainly, like we've seen that juice from him. So yeah, title contenders. I suspect he'll find himself at the bottom of title contenders as we keep this thing going. But he's had a really, really impressive season. One of the biggest risers and one of the more impressive users so far of season 1. Florida State, it's really hard to rank because they were bottom dwellers for the first 5 games, and now P-Town's just like beating the shit out of everyone who plays. So like, this is tough. I almost feel like they need their own tier. But how would you put them?
Yeah, it's hard because when you start like 0 or 1 and whatever, there's no chance of making the playoffs. Like I'm just gonna say frisky, just because like if there's no, I don't think there's a shot starting 3 and 5. Couple things to note though. He gets Notre Dame week 11, so he might P-Town might put up 80 points and get booted. So that's in play, and then he plays Willie week 14, and that could be a huge spoiler game, right? Look at like taking an L there for Willie would be huge. But those are 2 games right there that are pretty interesting. He's got Morty this week, but that Florida game I think week 14 is going to be pretty interesting. Could be a potential spoiler for Florida State.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the more impactful non-conference games. Certainly, like you've got 2 guys who are gonna be like kind of lingering around playoff contention, most likely heading into that game. And P-Town, I mean, again, we can say what we want about P-Town. He's looked fantastic since he's joined the league. Like he's destroyed everyone he's played, right? Like he's whoever has been put in front of him, he has beaten to a pulp pretty much so far. So.
Him and Willie must have played though at least 100 times. He's part of that like Willie Allen like P-Town like King like 3 a.m. Game anyone in every single Discord server like imaginable.
Yeah.
So like they've just been playing each other nonstop. So like who knows? The score's gonna be like 63-62 or something crazy.
5 losses maybe too much to overcome in terms of the playoff hunt, but no one wants to play P-Town right now. Could prove spoiler for a lot of people. One of honestly the most impressive seasons that we've had, and yet he still finds himself at 3-4, I believe. Phil's James Madison Dukes.
3-5, not ideal. Lost to Justin. So the blind guy emoji was because I tuned into a Justin game and he was just throwing like the worst passes ever, so that's why I gave him the blind. I also gave him the just because he was just like just truck through everyone, so he was that was the combo there. Yeah, props to Phil. I mean, 73 overall team. Not many people would want to take a bad team and have to go through with it, but regardless, like that first win at Oregon, that will live on forever. A 13-7 win, like that will live on forever. So I'm happy it was against Steele. A couple of games left. Minnesota, West Virginia, Michigan, and Ohio State. So could be a tough end for James Madison, but
3 of those are winnable. I would say 3 of those are winnable, honestly. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And home versus Ohio State. The Ohio State's got to travel up to JMU.
Oh yeah, I don't know how they're going to handle that home crowd of James Madison, but we'll see.
I think this is 100% Frisky because Frisky is annoying and playing Phil is annoying. So this is like the perfect combo.
Yeah, Phil. A lot of close losses. I mean, ultimately, a win's a win, a loss is a loss. We don't do the quality loss thing here necessarily, but took 3 guys who are having better seasons than him with far better teams to overtime. So that's impressive, and could kind of. I mean, in a very different vein than P-Town, but kind of like P-Town could prove to be a spoiler here for some people. But yeah, the playoff chances are minimal here. And Justin is saying, user-wise, Phil is top 5 in the league right now.
No, not even no. This that's like, hey, I just beat your ass, and I'm gonna compliment you. Just relax.
Oh wow. I don't need top 10, top 8, top 5 seems a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Lofty,
Top 5 now.
But yeah. Top 5's tough.
Respectfully.
Morty's Miami Hurricanes, who have had a roller coaster of the season, started off with 2 dominant wins, took 2 L's, and just when we thought his season might be dying, beats Willie, beats who was that? Who was that second win against? I'm thinking about because he was 4-2 at one point.
Ben and Willie.
Right. He beat Ben.
Notre Dame and Kentucky when Troy was had no eyes, I guess.
Right.
42-7, by the way. Week 1, 42-7 Troy. Like, don't.
Oh no, yeah. No, that was when I was like, oh, Troy might be awful in this game. Like that's kind of where I was at after that Miami game, and I mean, we'll get to Troy when we get to him, but actually next we'll get to Troy, but Miami I would put in fringe playoffs personally. Like you can see the path. Again, this is me not having the schedule in front of me, but like you can see the path to Morty potentially. I don't know how his chances are in terms of getting into the ACC championship game, but you could see him potentially slipping in as like the 10th seed, the 11th seed, and maybe putting a scare into someone once he gets there. But will he compete for the title? No. So to me, that says fringe playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ranked number 11 right now. Just took an L to Louisville by a 7-point loss. Not a big.
That's
against
fine.
someone else.
Yeah.
Someone else that beat Willie. Willie's only 2 losses in the last couple of teams he spoke about. But Morty's got a couple of tough games. He's got Florida State on the schedule. He's got Auburn on the schedule. Boise State, USC, Michigan. So there's potential there, but he's gonna have to win probably 3 of those.
That's not bad.
No, and he was Frisky. So from Frisky to fringe playoffs, that's a step up. So props.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's really impressed, especially because I don't like. He was just playing his nephew in this game before the league started. His 10-year-old, 11-year-old nephew. Shout out to Morty's nephew. I met him when we did the podcast recording. But yeah, fringe playoffs. We'll see kind of where he fits within that tier as we go. But
He's done though so far. Much better than I anticipated. Like Miami's not a team you want to play at all.
No, it's not. And he's had one of the more low-key impressive seasons, I would say, in terms of not being talked about. But he's put.
Yeah, because he doesn't boast about all his wins like half the league. He wins and just keeps it moving. He doesn't gotta talk about it the whole time, or just immediately run to scores and just copy paste.
That's been I've been in a league with him since Madden 17. That's been his MO the entire time. Like even when he was winning just many Super Bowls back in the day. Very chill, very low key, and I respect that. Troy's Kentucky Wildcats, who have definitely had the biggest turnaround of anyone. For me, based on his current form, I mean 5 straight wins and then barely losing to Allen on the road. To me, I would say playoff race. probably top of playoff race, but I would say playoff race. Where are you at with him?
It's a tough one. Again, the worst start in the history of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Troy needs to beat someone good, right? His wins were fine, right? He barely squeaked out one against JMU, beat Florida State when I don't even know if they even played or if there was a human being there.
I don't.
Ben's been struggling. He beat CMS by 7 and then beat Nick by 6 if they played. So like the Allen game was a nice one though. That kind of showed like okay, like does he have the juice? And I saw a lot of interesting like running gameplay out of him, and it had to be super annoying for Allen to play against. But that showed me he can put up 40 points against Allen. So he has a chance with that. Tough remaining schedule: Auburn at Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Louisville. So
Wake
yeah,
Forest,
that's to me
baby.
that yeah yeah you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, so I think playoff race, again in that 10, 11, 12 area because it's gonna be tough. But way to turn the season around. Again, Kentucky's not by any stretch of the imagination the superstar team. The 3.5
No,
stars, they're fine.
they're not. Yeah, they're. I mean, honestly, in terms of like the 32 rosters we have in here, they're one of the lesser ones. So very impressive that he's
Hmm.
done what he's done. We have 26 viewers in here for a non-gameplay BL college football stream. I mean, if y'all didn't think this league had juice, that proves it right there. So you give some love for yourselves in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, because we're out here. We're doing a great thing. Troy made me have to be run heavy. Little great strategy. Yeah, listen, triple team Harbor. Just do what you got to do. Yeah, Troy's in playoff race. Ben's West Virginia Mountaineers, who kind of similar. I mean, he's in a worse position right now than Miami is, but they're kind of similar to Miami, where like they've had a bit of a roller coaster of a season, like high highs, low lows. You're gonna have to educate me on what his record is. I'm completely forgetting off the top of my head.
Yeah, Ben's 4-4. Started off 3-1, took 3 straight losses, and then beat Matt pretty good 26-7.
Okay.
At 4-4, he's not ranked now, so playoffs probably is out of the question. I feel like that's such a hard like hill to climb. I may be wrong. Again, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but playing Washington, who's unranked, playing JMU, who's unranked, playing Kennesaw State, like you should lose points for that. Who's 4-3 by the way, and then finishes his season at home versus Alabama.
Okay.
So, spoiler, Ben, I think that puts him in that frisky territory. I don't think at 4-4, like unless he goes on a heater, I'm not sure he can. Even if he wins them, if he'll be in the playoffs.
I'm gonna put James Madison ahead of West Virginia in the Frisco tier just out of respect, but I don't think that necessarily reflects their likelihood of making the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, depending on how the rankings break out, depending on how some other teams do over these next few weeks, that home game against Alabama could be a win and you're in scenario for Ben because he's probably going to win those other three. So we'll see.
Yeah, everyone who has got Bama on their schedule circling them. All they got to do is just disconnect twice, get Dan tilted,
Mm-hmm.
talk about how Madden stinks, and then he's just gonna go off the deep end. So like, you got to play the mind games with Bama
Well,
first. You can't just load in. So
you say that, but also every time every time Dan like crashes out in chat, he then like beats his guy by 100. So it's kind of tough to say. Like maybe I don't know. Just
I mean, I just wish he chose a better team or had a hopefully he's got some good
yes.
players coming in. Who knows? But
Yeah, I feel really bad for little old Alabama down there in Tuscaloosa. We'll see what happens. Cam's Michigan Wolverines as we move on to the Big Ten here, move on to our second conference we're talking about. I know that I know that he barely lost to Auburn. I know that he barely lost to Oregon. So, like, where are we at with Michigan right now?
yeah, Cam's 4-3, ranked number 8. Again, with an L to Auburn, he's going to drop a little bit out of that playoff. I do think he's somewhere between playoff race and fringe playoffs. We don't know enough because Cam's games have been like, oh, you know how some users have played like the same 5 guys, and Cam's played Penn State when Agenda was in Narnia, Michigan State computer, then played Boz, shout out Boz, and
Shout out.
lost to Matt, lost to Dehudi, then came back and beat Washington, and then put up a good game, a good fight against Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know about Michigan. I don't know where to put them because I don't. It's they're in the playoff race, but I don't know like if they should be dropped to fringe.
I would compare. I would compare Cam to myself and the way I say that is he has a play style where like he's likely not going to get blown out by a lot of guys because he really just kind of like shortens the game on you with his offensive play style, but also the ceiling is like very limited where if he goes up against a guy who's just like straight up like better on the sticks than he is, like it's really hard to kind of see him pulling out a victory. I would say fringe playoffs below Miami.
That's fair.
I see more of a path for Miami within their conference in terms of potentially making that conference championship game. I see more of a path with him than I do within the Big Ten, where Ohio State's dominating, and then you have guys like Oregon, guys like USC, Minnesota in the mix, Penn State even. So I see more of that path, but respect to Cam. I mean, I think he's generally doing what he said he was going to do, which is pound the hell out of the rock and frustrate some guys offensively. And he's had a solid season so far. Hopefully, he can.
He had a great play against Austin, where it was like quarterback draw and it just went for like 60 yards, and it was one of those plays that like
just right
when that happens to you, you're like, oh my god, like are we serious? And like it's just he's got a couple of those up his sleeve, so it was pretty neat.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, his quarterbacks can't hit the broadside of a barn in the passing game, but he doesn't need to necessarily with his play style. So respect to him. Agenda's Penn State, like you said, started the season 0-2, took 2 forced losses. I want to say he's around 500 right now. Again, I don't have the records in front of me. I apologize. Okay. I would put Agenda. It's hard because he's got a couple impressive wins, but like it's kind of hard not to put him in mid.
What do? I was gonna say mid. I don't even have to say any other words. He could be 6-0, and I still put him in mid.
Oh wow.
So he's got a game at his best friend's, home versus Ohio State week 10. So that'll be a neat one. But he also got Florida State, Minnesota, and then the juggernaut Illinois. So it's going to be tough sledding for Penn State. So hopefully his recruiting's going well, which we'll find out. But yeah, I think mid right now, just 2-4. There's no playoff hopes. There's no frisk. There's no frisk. There's nothing frisky about him.
Well, Penn State's got a better roster than Illinois, so we already know the mentality of the Illinois is just going to carry into that game. We'll get there when we get there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, mid. I think it's a bit of a disservice to Agenda as a user. I mean, clearly you disagree, but it's a bit of a disservice, but also it reflects how the season's gone so far.
And frisky him. It's perfectly fine if you want to frisky him.
No. Listen, Frisky's crowded, dude. We need someone in mid. And
I agree. I like the frisky people. Like I like this. I feel like they really got something to them. So
the frisky tier's got the most juice of any. Steele's
they definitely got something.
I don't. Yeah, listen. I don't know how to tier Steele. Like he's had just the strangest season. I wouldn't even say bad. I would just say strange. Like. That JMU, like I know what you were talking, like what you were saying in the start of the stream in terms of like guys were still finding their footing the first couple weeks, and then maybe you give a bit more weights to the more recent games. But listen, you lose to James Madison, that drags you down like an anchor. And he's had a couple other tough losses too. Through like 5 for 90 against Matt. So where are we at with Oregon?
Oregon 3-4. It's weird, like Steele had to go create a whole separate league just so he can get more practice because he's getting his ass kicked as Oregon. Like that's so funny. Like he stinks. He lost to Texas by 3, at home.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. Lost to Ohio State by 7 at Ohio State, so that's good. But you can't score 14 points there. He's got Louisville, Michigan, TCU, LSU, and Washington to finish up. There is an outside chance, and because I feel like if he wins a CPU game, he'll get ranked again just because it's Oregon. There's an outside chance he's fringe playoffs, and I'm not going to count him out as much as I would like to.
I disagree with you. You said he's 3-4? Yeah. He's not beating you, and he's not beating King, so that puts him at 6 losses. I don't think he's got a shot.
All right, it's settled.
Yeah, I think we're putting him. What does that make him? Frisky? Again.
I need him to come back to this every time he thinks I say something mean about him, that I just try to fringe playoffs him. If he does make the playoffs, then we're not going to hear the end of it. So I just need to make sure we're clear with that. But it's tough. He has to turn the season around, and his offense looks awful. So like we'll see. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get to the conference standings later. He might still be in the mix in the Big Ten. I know the Big Ten, like the Big Ten, is just as soupy as the Big 12, but no one's talking about it. Like it's Ohio State, and then it's a bunch of guys with 2 and 3 losses in the conference. So I am curious about that. He might slip in as like a 7 and 5
So
seed to
he's
finish conference champion.
honestly he's only a game out. Minnesota and Michigan are 4-3. Oregon and USC are 3-4.
Right. Well, but what are they in conference though? That's what matters.
Three pretty much they're all 3-2 or 3-3.
Yeah, so he's very much got a shot still at a conference championship. What would be here's what I want to happen. He wins the conference championship at like 6-6 or whatever, but he's still low ranked enough where you have 2 CPU teams in the playoffs instead of him. That's the dream right there. We have Hawaii and fucking Kennesaw State getting over him.
Hell yeah! Shout out to Hawaii.
Shout out to Hawaii, man, 5-0. About to be 5-1 after this, fan. So sorry, Morty. It had to happen.
Yeah.
Dahooties, Minnesota Golden Gophers. I have nothing to say. I really have not watched them. So where are you at with Dahootie?
Doherty's 4-3, ranked number 10. You know, week 1 lost to Boise State. Shout out Paz. Kind of turned things around. You know, he hasn't played like, I mean, he has played 7 games, but beat Michigan, beat USC, lost to Ohio State by a ton at Ohio State. Now he's got JMU, and then he's got a pretty tough schedule: Clemson, South Carolina, Penn State, Wisconsin. So he's going to be tested, and he's ranked number 10. Mm-hmm.
He I think can win all of those games except probably for Allen. Allen might be too much for him right now, but Clemson I think he could beat Wisconsin, Michigan. He said I think he could win both of those. So it's tough to say. I mean, he's another one of those guys in the just Big Ten soup that like might find themselves squeaking into the conference championship game. So it's hard to count him out just based off that.
He was fringe playoffs on the OG tiers. I'm fine putting him in playoff race, giving you the benefit of the doubt.
That is
because I mean
heavy benefit of the doubt, but I'm here for
all
it.
Right, he's 10th right now. He plays JMU, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's 3-5. Mm-hmm. Plays Clemson. CMS. We don't know what version of CMS we're going to get.
Could win that,
South Carolina. Probably maybe his boring offense bores Allen to death, and Allen just falls asleep. Then he's got Agenda, who you don't know, and then you got Justin, who's just a wild card because he's just YOLO. So there's possible we can do. I'm fine with fringe playoffs if you want to do that. You want to put him in that tier just because the other two are kind of the same record. Yeah, probably fringe because he falls in line with Michigan and I think Miami.
Fringe playoffs, I'll put him between I think Miami and Michigan. And Ben's saying he was 10th before his blowout loss to Ohio State this week. So
that's true. That's true. And he got killed. And also, 49-14.
We got Steele complaining about his placement. Steele, you have looked awful most of the year. I don't want to hear it, personally. I mean, James Madison has to be above you out of respect, so that puts you in Frisky. That puts you in Frisky. And you would lose by 50 to Pete Town right now, so I don't want to hear it. Matt's USC Trojans, again, he took 2 back-to-back really tough L's recently. Until then, he was looking like a front runner in the Big Ten. Where does he stand right now in your eyes?
I mean, talk about a meltdown, like both like gameplay and in chat, like prayers up for Matt. The agenda thing was just awful, like him posting like YouTube stuff like right after. Like I love that energy. But yeah, losing to Ben 26-7, just the offense just does not seem to be clicking at all. Ranked 22, losing to an unranked team, he's gonna drop out. Somewhere between Frisky and mid, with like all due respect. You got Arizona coming up, you got Miami coming up, you got. Well, that's really it.
Yeah, but I mean, just Arizona and Miami, like that's tough. I mean, he could beat Morty. I don't think he's beating Hero.
Yeah, but Matt's not frisky to me. He doesn't have that frisky tendency to me. Mid doesn't mean you're so much worse than frisky, but frisky means you got like that juice. You got that little something, right? Like CMS can pull something out of his and just go on a tear for no reason. Throw 3 Hail Marys, catch all 3, right? Phil can lag switch people, get them lagging out of the game, get a win. Steele could have, I don't know, someone else log on his account and play for him, and then Pete Town just score 60 points. So like, Matt doesn't have that juice to me. He scored in the last 2 games 21 combined points. Like, I can't have it.
I moved I moved Ben down to mid. He said, if you're gonna put Steele ahead of me, just put me in mid and say less. And also
What
Ben,
a
the
guy.
reason you're in mid, we can't be guaranteeing a win against Miami and then getting our cheeks clapped like that. That's just unfortunate. If you hadn't guaranteed
Yeah.
that win, you'd probably still be in Frisco right now. But such is life. Yeah, we'll have Matt top of mid. Is that entirely fair? No, but again, it's our tiers. We're going off we're going off vibes here, and that's where we got him. Lucky's Washington Huskies, who every week that passes, I'm more and more frustrated with myself for losing this game because he has not looked good beyond the Utah game.
I mean, that was a weird loss to you. But you're also like the most Jekyll and Hyde person in this league gameplay wise, so it's not
That's
really a shock.
100% fair. I'm
Um,
here for it.
I had you in like title contenders like 7 IRL days ago, and I don't know what happened. So there's been, we'll get to that. Yeah, Washington sitting at 2-4 unranked. Not really a difficult schedule, kind of like a mid schedule, only one winning team. So he can kind of come back and finish strong. Playoffs is out of the question. Somewhere between first key and mid. It really depends. Like if Lucky played Steel right now, who wins?
I think Steele wins, to be honest with you.
Okay. So then somewhere. I feel if I put Matt at 3-4 in mid, then Lucky. Obviously he missed a couple games and all that stuff, so it's hard to kind of put him higher at this point.
Yeah, but he hasn't looked. I mean, even in my game against him, he didn't look good until the fourth quarter, which I know that's like that may come off assaulting.
I No, I love that. He
It's tough
beat
to
me, but he
say.
sucks. That's what I
He's
say.
fucking trash, dude. Now, no, listen, my game management is trash. I can tell you that right now. Yeah, I'm putting him like middle of mid, behind Matt because I think Matt and Ben would both beat him right now, probably. I mean, Lucky is like very openly said he has no idea what he's doing on offense right now.
Yeah.
So this feels fair. Lucky saying 2-2 in games I played. That is very cool. That's a very cool statistic. Ohio State, who, listen, I have done nothing on BLN but shit on Wozy, so I'm going to give Wozy his credit. He has not just surprised me, he has, like, completely flipped my expectations in terms of, like, what he can do in this league. He has looked very, very good, not just in terms of the record, but in terms of, like, I watched him just dot up to Hootie all game long. I watched him, I forget the second game. I forget the second game he played, but he looked really, really good in it. And it was against Tim's TCU. He was really good in that game as well. It's hard not to put him in title contenders, dude. Like, with that roster, with his form, he's not the favorite to win it, but like I think he's in that tier.
I think pre-death scare, I'd probably put him in playoff race, but post-death scare, I'd probably put him in title contenders.
I like
Ranked
that.
number 2, he's got a 90 overall team, 6-1. Like you go to Ohio State, it's gonna be such a nightmare to play that. Like the thing is, beat Oregon only by 7, beat the brakes off of Duhuti, but lost at Texas, right? So that tells me that like, okay, we're kind of in that like bottom of title contenders and like upper playoff race, just because Texas, ranked number 4, they're a good team as well. Finishing up, Bosey's got agenda. He's got Utah. Then he's got A&M, James Madison, and Michigan. So Ohio State could finish potentially with, probably I'd say probably like two losses maybe. But yeah, I think it's title contender. If someone's gonna potentially win their conference and they're ranked number 2, like you got to be title contender. I don't care who you played or whatever the situation is. You're 6-1, so props.
Yeah,
And I say that like respectfully for someone who's just never given Wozy a prop in his life. So props.
we have to prepare ourselves for an 11-1 Wozy. I think with that schedule in front of him, it's kind of I would like to think I can compete with him. I probably can compete with him on a given day, but it's tough to say that I'm the favorite in that game. And all those other games, yeah, like I have Wozy winning, so probably gonna see him.
Playing at Ohio State's a problem. Like that's not fun.
It's rough.
Like I can't.
It's rough. Yeah.
It's like Tennessee. Like whoever has to play Cloud at Tennessee, you're gonna have such a bad 45 minutes of your life. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like Ohio State has that same sort of juice. I know there's like the stadium rankings, but just something about like that Ohio State crowd, like they're hopping.
It's a massive stadium. The sight lines are weird, and yeah, it gets loud, like you said. So Wozy rising all the way from mid to title contender. He is definitely going to be the number 1 riser in terms of our tiers, preseason to now. Boz's Boise State Broncos. I'm playing him tomorrow, so I'm not going to talk too spicy. But how do you see his season so far?
I mean, 2-6. I really wish someone helped out like these Europeans with like what schools to pick. Like this is so wild that Boz and Phil got these two teams. Boise State. I mean, key matchup, Week 13 versus CPU Nevada. Like
Mm.
rivalry game. No, but Boz also he's besides playing he's got Lucky and he's got Morty. So and also Alex with Illinois. So
He plays
it's
the
going to be a good
Washington
test.
brothers. Oh my god, I love
He's
him.
got a good test of players he's going to go against. So I think we'll kind of learn a little bit more. But kind of had a tough schedule. Honestly, I mean, just it's been tough for Boise State, but we'll see how these next couple of games go. And I mean, tier wise, it's probably
Bottom
it's
of
mid.
mid.
It's next to
Bottom
Lucky,
of mid
I'd
for me,
say.
I would say.
Okay.
I think Agenda has shown more juice in his games than Boz has in his. Now, of course, I do this, and then Boz is going to clap my cheeks tomorrow, and we're going to have to revisit this. But for now, I have him bottom of mid.
Emergency.
Yeah, emergency 10 minutes here show just to move Boz up a couple
Yeah.
tiers. Listen, I'll do it. BLNC, we'll make it happen. I am going to, I am going to clear out and just let the LeBron of Illinois hate go on an ISO right now. Warren, talk to me about Alex's Illinois Fighting Illini.
So one of the things I was thinking, so Jen and I, we took the baby and we took the dogs to a place called Water Drinker. It's like a farm, right? So they have like all these like stands and people are selling things and they have like animals and there's a brewery and food trucks. And as we're getting there, I was just, zoning out. And I thought in my head, I'm like, man, Alex is playing awful. He's 2-5. So one of the things I was thinking, I'm like, hey, since he's not commish, is everyone just beating the brakes off of him because they're not going to get booted? Like in Madden, do you think people have just been letting him get a couple easy wins and being like, "Oh, good game, man. Yeah, yeah, Micah Parsons, there's no pass rush." But now that it's college football, there's no threat of any sort of repercussions that they're just laying the hammer on this kid.
Some are saying that's why I lost my playoff game to him. No, but he the crying has to stop. It has to. I mean, I don't want to like harp on it too much because we've both we've both like made our thoughts clear in the chat. But he has far from the worst roster in this league. It is after every single game he loses, he's like, I'm playing great football. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Against me, Alex, you were conservative as shit. You punted like 3 times when you should have gone for it, all of which would have been legal. You had zero offense, just hard flats and stack the box, and that's all I'm doing because you're not throwing it more than 5 yards downfield. It's like playing with the 99 overall Cowboys, but it's the same scheme with this, Illinois roster. Of everyone I've played so far, maybe with the exception of Troy, but Troy sucked, you pose the least threat to me of beating me, of anyone I've played, and that's disappointing because people talk about it, but like you did just make the Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys, and granted this is a different game, but like it can't be this bad. It cannot be this bad, and it's not because you have mini Derrick Henry on your team. But yeah, Warren, bottom dweller mentality. So do you want to put him in bottom dweller?
No, 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 no.
No. Okay.
The way you talk me off of when I'm talking of this one. It's mid. It's that next to Boz sort of deal. Definitely less than Ben in USC. One of the things to your point of view saying hard flats. And part of I was talking to Alan, I think like a couple days ago, and might have been today. I don't even know. Like I don't. Every day is just kind of a blur. But I'm like, no one has offense. There's very few people who have legitimate plays that get yardage, and I say that in terms of like, so many people are playing Madden and just I'll put my halfback on and out and just snap throw it, even if it's not like if that's not working. The zones will cover that guy. People are not like they don't outside of like the gimmicky plays like whatever like screens or whatever. Not too many people have these like good offenses, and watching Alex play, that's literally what I'm seeing. I'm like, okay, like where's your play? What play are you going to? And it's just constant like halfback flat, quick pass, quick pass, quick pass, and it's like 3rd and 8, and it's like, all right, we gotta work the ball downfield. And something that I've noticed for a lot of users that they're just not really. They're playing super conservative, and it's not helping. P-Town drops 63 points on him. You got to push the ball, brother.
Yeah, and Alex is a brother of many cities at this point. We shared a dance at Cam's wedding. I love him, and I want to see him do better. And hopefully hopefully getting some new recruits in there. Hopefully he will do better. We'll see. Just the mentality shift has to come first, because if you're going into every game against a quote unquote better roster already primed to like complain about blocking and stuff, you're not going to do much over the course of a 12-game season. Cody's Cincinnati Bearcats. I have no clue what's going on with Cody. It's been odd. How do you see his season?
You know, 3-5. Obviously, not playoffs are not an option. I don't even know if Frisky's an option at this point. It's just the points haven't been there. Just the points have not been there. Lost to Alex 24-21. Put up 10 points against Cloud. He beat Nick, but it's got 3 user games left: Colorado, Utah, and Texas. And it's just, I mean, Cody's mid. As much as like everyone's like, like I know like BL's big on, oh, these guys are this and this and this, and the truth is like he hasn't put it on tape in probably 2 IRL years, between Madden and now this, and that's fine. Like, he's got a life, he's got a baby coming, all that stuff, but we're not talking baby, we're not talking life, we're talking football. So I think mentality too. I think it's gotten a lot of people where it's like people like they talk themselves out of things before they happen. And if some people had a little more confidence in their game, like I go into all my games like I'm ready to blow the doors off. Like if I have to punt, I'm like, oh, like I'm a failure. Like, so it's constant. Like the headspace has to be right, otherwise, the gameplay starts to falter. And I think he's been like the headspace hasn't been right. And again, life. Definitely mid.
I did see a stream of his. I forget who was against, but literally the first drive of the game, he got sacked, and he was like, "Oh, here we go again. Can't block anybody." And I was like, "All right, it's too early for this. It's far too early for this." Whoops.
Well, because when you play, your outline blocks for 10 minutes, and you're just chilling in the pocket, and it's definitely. I mean, there's definitely been an adjustment period with this game, and I think some people have adapted, and some people still haven't. So. You have to play this game like it's college football 25, right? And I've said, yes, like certain things will work, then carry over from Madden, but you have to at least incorporate some element of like college football and these unique plays that they provide to you, because they're super cool and they work. So, we'll see if the offense going forward. But Cody, Colorado, Utah, Texas, TCU. So, we'll see how he ends up.
And thank you for saying that, Warren. I'm going to clarify something I said a couple weeks in the chat. When I was talking about people just like carrying over their Madden scheme and like how people should incorporate more quote unquote like college football concepts, that wasn't like Cody and Steele got on me and they were taking that to say, oh, you should do like double reverse passes and all this like trick shot. Like, no, you don't need to do that. You just like, there are a bunch of new schemes and new formations and new plays that are highly effective in this game, and I think it makes some sense to put those in your scheme instead of running stretch 5 times in a row, or like
yeah, you can't run gun doubles and put halfback on an ankle every play and be like, all right, I'm locked in. Like, no, like what are we even doing? It's not going to work. It will work at some point, but it's not going to. The game is just, it's a different game. It's just a different game. So it's I think having those elements, or at least having like certain motions or things. Like sometimes the window dressing of motions and whatever, like pre-snap movement helps the offense. If you come out in gun doubles, you come out in like these basic formations, like there's not that much you can do. So get the defense moving and get them thinking. But you're right, we haven't seen too much. Some people are still stuck in the milkman offense days, I guess.
We've also got a couple people saying that Illinois should be bottom dweller. I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I just wanted to know that is in the chat. People are saying that.
Also, a shout out to Steel and P-Town fighting.
Yeah, I was going to skip past that, but yeah, that's.
I'm not. I think it's great. I love. I like when people have energy, and this definitely, whether it's good or bad, they've definitely both got energy. So, I mean, I'm shocked that Steel came in here and was negative. That's a first. So, we're learning something new every day.
You do. Again, we're sticking with 25 viewers here. Much love to y'all. You know what? While we're here, let me read this off real quick. We got Ben, CMAS, King, Dan, Matt, Grid, Will, Alan, Boz, Phil, Lucky, Morty, Hero, P-Town, Steel, Justin, Warren checking in, as well as Wolf Knight sliding. Hold on. Let me, at Wolf Knight, which is not going to let me do, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm just going to give him a heart. And, I would like for all of y'all to give Wolf Knight a heart in the chat real quick, because that is a long-time BL supporter, ladies and gentlemen, a long-time BL supporter. Yeah, middle of mid for Cody. He has like a lot of upward mobility potential. Like I don't think will stay here like longer than like the rest of the season. I think he'll be better, but um, yeah, middle of mid right now.
Can be better. That's what always bothers me. It's like that you have like on your favorite team, you have that player that's like the potential's there, but it's just like not happening, and you're like what is happening? Like what is going on? So that's where Cody is. I mean, he can move up next season, and it wouldn't
I
be a
think he will.
surprise.
I think he
We
will.
just expect better. We expect better. It's just the
Yeah.
truth.
For good reason. He's proven himself over the course of a long time, so he's proven himself. Gamble's Colorado Buffaloes. Now he has had a very impressive season, but I did see that yesterday he got blown the fuck out by Hero. I think it was like 56-14. So that's tough.
Yeah.
That kind of casts a bit of a pall over his season, but he has been pretty solid generally. So where do you have Shador Sanders in the Colorado Buffaloes?
Um, I want to put him bottom dweller, but I'm not gonna get the
No, screw you.
authorization. Yeah, I know. That's what that's why I prefaced it. 4-3, beat CPU, TCU, beat Auburn when it was P, um, beat Florida State when it was a sim probably, and then beat Alex 24-21. So I guess right next to Illinois.
Right ahead
Lost
of
to,
Illinois to clarify. Right ahead of Illinois.
yes,
But yep,
yes, right
keep
for
it going.
head, yes.
Keep it going.
He's Alex is not going to bottom dwellers. He lost to Wisconsin by 12. Hero literally just mopped him, but just beat the ever living piss out of him. Gamble gets at Cincinnati next week, which will be that's an electric matchup, right? That could send Cody off the deep
It's
end.
turned into
Like,
one. Yeah, I would have never thought that, but it's turned into one here.
and then we got Notre Dame, Utah, Colorado State, and then Texas. So probably gonna finish like not even. I don't know. Gamble's not frisky, but he's just
No,
not
he's not.
frisky.
No, no.
But
Yeah.
but that Cincinnati matchup is gonna be fun.
Here's the thing. Granted, you could say this about the entire Big 12, other than
Dude, all
Alex.
these games are good. Like legitimately, like I don't care who's playing. Like I'm tuning into all these games.
He
I'm tuning in. I'm watching. Like I don't care who it is.
he could make the Big 12 conference championship game. Like there's a very real path for him doing that. And once you do that, it is a one-game season. And if you, I mean, granted, you just got blown out by Hero, but if you're able to, catch Hero on an off day and beat him, then you're in the playoffs. So it's like it's tough for me to say he has zero chance, but I mean, you're right. Like mid is where we're gonna put him, but
In a perfect, yeah. I mean, if everyone wins out, then things change. But it's like it's so hard to really,
man,
you know.
Warren, the streets are screaming for Illinois to be in bottom dwellers. Again, this is the last time I'm gonna bring it up, but we got Ben, we got Phil, we got I think Steeler, we got a bunch of guys saying he's bottom dwellers, but
You move him down ahead of Nick, then I'm gonna override you on one thing.
okay,
I,
override me right now. What are you thinking?
I don't have it right now. I'm just what I was saying before about Alex being commissioned Maddenly. Like, look at this. Look at this. Now we're in college football and everyone's just dumping on this man. Like, I'm for one shocked at the integrity and just like the view of him in the college football league.
Integrity in better league. I don't know what your perception of this league was. We have no integrity. This is
Everyone's just dumping on him. It's like I feel bad.
well, when you beat my backup quarterback and backup receivers with a 99 overall everything team with a million knockouts, then you go in and suck yourself off about how good you played in the post game. Maybe I feel some type of way about it, Alex. Maybe I feel some type of way about it. But Illinois will be top and bottom dwellers.
He didn't even do anything in the last 10 minutes and he got moved down. That's wild. I mean, all right.
I'm very I'm very like peer pressure gets to me easily. When the chat calls for something, I do it, and we're gonna put him in bottom dweller. Heroes Arizona Wildcats, the clear favorite as of now to win the Big 12. At the very least, I think their playoff race. He hasn't looked amazing. Like he did get kind of schmacked by Dan. But he's been pretty good otherwise. How do you feel about Hero?
Yeah, Arizona's ranked 12. They'll move up. Not too many convincing wins. I mean, so he beat you by 3 points, right? That was a close one. Beat Illinois, who's the worst team in the history of college football, I guess. Then beat Gamble by 1 million, right? The thing is, like, we expect Hero to be in the race. His remaining schedule is not that, it's like 50-50. He's got A&M at Louisville, CPU, TCU, and then at Tennessee. So those are huge tests for him. I'm definitely gonna. somewhere, I don't know. I better than Troy. I would trust
For
Hero
me,
doing better than Troy.
okay.
I don't know if it's title contenders because Dan dropped 70 on his head. And if someone drops 70 on you, like I can't forget that.
Yeah,
Like
for
I can't.
I think we're in the same boat. For me, he's top of playoff race, and he'll probably remain top of playoff race for this whole thing. But
Yeah.
there is, I think, a tier between him and the title
He had a little
contenders.
bit of a skid. I mean, losing to Justin and then the Alabama game where, but 2 wins since then, and
Yeah, yeah.
we expect Hero to be good. So
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, he has kind of like he's solidified himself, I think, in his own tier within the Big 12. But it's not like we've seen him lose to Justin, and like I almost beat him, and we've seen some other
yeah,
interesting results happen. So we'll see. This is very very tenuous here. This position he's got, but yeah, top playoff race. Justin's Wisconsin Badgers probably the second most likely team to make the Big 12 Conference Championship game. It's it's between me and him, I would say, for that designation. And he has already beaten Hero once, so he's shown that ability to, in that specific matchup to win that. But where do you have Justin?
I think we're looking playoff race. Remaining schedule: Bama, Illinois, Washington, Minnesota. So I could see he's
Yeah, it's
5-3
not bad.
now. I could see 5-7, or I could see 7-5, or what. Like I just don't. I watch the gameplay and I'm like, what is he doing? Like this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But 5-3 is 5-3. Like you said, beat Hero pretty good. Uh, this is really the only noticeable win. So the Bama game is going to be huge, right?
Uh huh.
We'll see. I mean, Bama then Illinois, which but we'll see. Like it's some people like have been tested through and through, and some people we don't know yet. And it's not saying we don't give them the respect, but we don't know. I do think we're looking at playoff race though. 5-3. He's gonna move up from 17, so right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mean, he's got a clearer path than anyone in fringe playoffs does. So yeah, I think bottom of playoff race right now for Justin. I I just don't think he has the offensive firepower to beat Alabama. But like all the rest of those games, sure, why not? Like he can win those. And if he does win those, like he's likely in the conference championship game where again he's already beaten Hero. So we'll see. Speaking of which, Hero in the chat saying Dan was jerking his meat to 3 garbage time touchdowns, 0 sportsmanship, but we remember. That'd be a fun little first round matchup, Alabama Arizona.
Ever since Hero kick return touchdown on me, I've been on a tear, and I think I've won as much as I have since then. Like I haven't I was 0 Super Bowls before that, and I was like never again. So sometimes you need that ass kicking, or you need to take that L to kind of move forward.
Yep.
And he's a resilient dude, so he's gonna bounce back. Just real quick with Justin, the emojis for the what is it, the JMU game, because you were crying about man coverage, so I emojied all different men, including the Monopoly man, and then I emojied beans because of Phil. So
Mm,
just to
love
clarify.
that. I meant what I said. Like, I need a handbook for some of these emojis. Like, people keep putting falafels. Like, can you tell me what a falafel is? I don't know what's going on with that.
I picked the most random. I don't remember what it was. I picked the most random
Okay.
emoji on something.
Okay.
So way back on Slack when I joined, when you guys were super nerds and emojied all the scores, I would put a French flag on my wins, and then people started doing the French flag with me, and then I was like, I don't know. I was just going through, and I was like, what is this? Looks like a plate of meatballs, but it's not, and it just kind of stuck. So, here we are.
Beautiful. Boz saying this stream is very falafel. I'm gonna take that as a compliment, Boz. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, yeah, I mean, bottom of the playoff race, which is honestly, given where we had Justin coming into the season, pretty good. He's had a solid season.
Yeah.
My Utah Utes. I'm not going to talk about myself. You can go. I know I've
Really?
disappointed you, so just let me have
You
it.
you 2,050%. Right? So your first 2 games, you beat Kentucky and Wisconsin, who are both playoff race teams, right?
Mhm.
You beat Illinois, who's the worst team.
Yes.
Then you just, I don't know what, the loss to Grid. So shout out Grid for being 4-3, right? He is someone who we had on bottom dwellers, and he's fighting for his life out there. It's so weird, Connor, because you and I played when the game dropped, like preseason, well, like way before, and I was like, oh wow, you're cooking. And then like I'll tune into a stream and I was like, what happened? And then I'll tune back in and then I see it again. It's like every quarter, like you're like how the players on the field are hot and cold.
Uh-huh.
You as a human being are hot and cold at each quarter. So like we need 4 quarters of hot. on a positive thing, 4-3, ranked 16, right?
Mhm.
You'll move up, something, or if not, stay the same. Boise State, Cincinnati, Ohio State, Colorado, then you finish at LSU.
Mhm.
So there's 3 of those should be wins, and then you have 2 tough matchups against the 1 and 2 teams. So it's you're probably gonna be hot and cold again, but I don't know. How do you feel like your season's going, and kind of like what do you think what's the biggest hurdle for you to kind of overcome?
That's a really hard question to answer. I think that I mean, I don't want to just like repeat what he said, but I think it's true. Like when I am playing well, I think it's very hard to stop me, and then sometimes I, through game management, get in my own way. Sometimes I, lose my like I do think I have an offensive identity, and I think sometimes when I am punched in the mouth or am down at any point in the game, really, I will too quickly abandon it and try to play a style of football that I'm not good at.
Yeah.
We saw that I think in the grid game and in the lucky game. Honestly, it was only like the hero game. I think I played very well, and I think like I'm not super upset with that loss because
It was 3-point loss.
yeah,
I mean,
like I think I played really well in that game. The lucky loss, like I blew that game, and lucky, I'm sorry if you're listening. I feel as if I blew that game, and then grid, I just made like boneheaded game management decisions, and just like got away from myself way too early. So it's tough. And then I've also had games, like I against Troy, I played really well all 4 quarters. Against Justin, I generally played well. That's a bit of a slog that game, but I generally played well. And then like Hero, I played great too. So it's tough to say.
yeah. We need to see a little more out of your offense because I'm looking and I'm seeing like your wins. You won scoring 24. You won scoring 21.
Yes.
You lost 21, right? So we got to see something in this next, second half of the season or the remaining games, like a little something, whether that's the running back or getting someone involved or, something to give a little more juice to kind of get you over that. I think that's what it is. But yeah, a couple tough matchups, couple not so tough matchups. So we'll kind of see.
Yeah, I felt Jesus. Sorry, I have the.
You'd be.
I think I'm fringe playoffs. I have a very real path to the playoffs within the Big 12, and even if I don't make the Big 12 championship game, like I could squeak in maybe like 8-4, but it's tough to put me in the same. Although I don't know because like, am I really a tier below Justin? Like I don't know. Like I legitimately don't know.
Well, we're not talking user versus user. We're talking like what's happened thus far.
I'm saying even in terms of that because we have like the same record, so it's tough to say.
Well, he's 5-3, so I mean, for what it's worth, right?
Okay, and I'm 4-3.
I put you like next to Morty in that sort of range.
That's fine.
You had started. I lost it. The original tiers, but it's hard. It's hard because like.
I remember.
Okay. So nothing has happened. Nothing has changed in your life.
Well, I mean, I've gone up to I've gone up to fringe playoffs, but
Okay. Yeah. You definitely need a little more out of the offense, and I think you'll be cooking.
For sure. I mean, I can't like the running game has low key kind of like stalled out on me the past couple of weeks. So if that happens, I'm cooked. So we'll see what happens moving forward because I don't got the dots. Tim's TCU. Horned Frogs. It's been a rough season. He's played well in a couple of losses. I know it's kind of like a weird sentence, but like he's had a couple quality losses, and then he's had a couple where he just like hasn't shown up at all. Within the Big 12, he has kind of solidified himself as having a pretty damn rough season. Him and Illinois. He's somewhere in mid. I don't know where, but he's somewhere in mid to me.
Tim to me is under Boz and over Alex.
Okay.
2-5. I mean, the losses. I mean, I got to see. Well, he beat Alex, so he's above Alex. He also beat Grid, so they kind of. I think right there, yeah, the mid tiers probably on par. I mean, 2-5. I mean, TCU. I don't even. It's probably the least. Like, I don't know anything about that team. I don't know if they have any juice, but I don't think. And matchups going forward, really nothing of note. I mean. Arizona and Cincinnati, Oregon. So we'll see. I mean, he can win any game. He can win any game. I will say this: I've seen him. I think he beat Hero and Madden last year, and he just kept throwing like halfback like check down routes, and it was the most frustrating thing I've ever watched in my life. But like he had it in him, and he held on to win. Usually, like people like blow that lead, but I've seen him do it. I feel like he can win. Not, I would not bet on him to. I'm just saying I feel like he can.
I mean, you're right. Like in a Madden context, you're right. Like he's made some
Sure.
runs. He's beaten some good users. I have not seen it in this game necessarily, but I mean, that's not to say he can't do it. Again, we're literally halfway into season 1, so it's like he could, suddenly put together some wins. But I haven't seen it necessarily. I'm gonna put him bottom of mid. The final Big 12 team before we move on to the SEC, Grids, Texas A&M Aggies. He has impressed a lot compared to what I thought he was going to do. Like we had him in bottom dwellers initially, I think, and he's definitely not that. But the inconsistency.
It's so weird. So weird. It's so weird. 4-3, right? Lost to Alex, lost to Cincinnati, lost to TCU. That right there is like means you're the worst player in the history of the world.
Right.
However, right? Beat Colorado, beat you,
Yep.
beat Wisconsin. So
Yep.
what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you good or bad, Grid? Like, figure it out, because it's like I don't know what you want me to do with this. He's again started as a bottom dweller preseason, so he's no gimme now. 4-3, that's pretty neat. So yeah, Frisky's it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, dude. You're in the Frisky tier.
Yeah. I mean, he's frisky. He's beaten some guys who on paper are better than him, and he's. I mean, it kind of goes to show you that the Big 12's kind of a mess outside of here. If I'm being honest, like we're all pretty inconsistent with our form. So, Grid's a great example of that. SEC, Alabama, crashes out during like every game in the chat, but he keeps winning. I have him in title contenders. The question is, where in title contenders? Or do you disagree?
I have him in playoff race.
Ooh, okay. Talk to me.
So, Dan's 2 losses. We're talking schedules, and we're talking people who were tested, people who were not tested. Dan lost to Willie by 12, right?
Yes.
Dan lost to Allen at home by 3.
Yes.
He beat the piss out of Hero. Beat Tennessee at home, right? So it's like, okay, like you're sort of, I need to see that, like when he goes against the better, right? I guess like the better players, like am I confident in him winning, right? Above Hero, so it's either, I mean, if he plays Wozy, he'll beat Wozy. So I don't know. I have a hard time with that. He's above Hero because he beat him, right? If you're going all things equal, but I just don't. Yeah, no, I take it back. Title contender. I'm looking at the title contender. Yeah, I can't put him, with all due respect, with the playoff race.
Yeah. You don't think him and Justin should be in the same tier necessarily? I feel that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think an IP flooded. It's just It's just one of those things where like I don't know. Like I watch Dan play and I'm like, why are you like? With all due respect, some of the worst runs I'll ever see in my life. Like, Dan needs to clear up his run stick big time because he runs into his lineman. It looks awful. Then he's in 3rd and 14, has to cook up a stupid dot. And I'm like, you make it so much harder on yourself. And I've seen him do it over and over again. I just, if he plays, at South Carolina instead at home against South Carolina, how does that go? If he plays, at Florida instead of home versus Florida, how does that go? Dan needs a marquee win. He plays me in a couple of weeks, and then he plays Austin at the end of the season. So those will be the biggest tests. But yeah, he's in it. It's just we don't know. Like it's kind of all over the place at times. I would say you don't know what you're going to get, but it's very, very interesting.
This title contender placement for me is more out of respect for what we know he can be compared to like what he's actually done.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know, like, that is not necessarily how we've graded the rest of these guys, so that's kind of tough, but,
Well, you earn it, right? You earn that stuff.
Yeah. Very interested to watch his game against you, very interested to watch his game, has he played Will yet? He has played Will, hasn't he?
He lost to Will, so he's got Illinois, which will be hilarious. Justin, which could go at Wisconsin, that can go either way, home versus LSU, home versus Clemson, at West Virginia, at Auburn. I mean, Austin might just be in trips tight end for every single play and just just dot his brains out. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, Dan obviously has a chance to not just make it, but make a run. But these playoffs are going to be like nutty. Like it's going to be just sweats. It's going to be crazy.
It's been really fun. Your LSU Tigers, you were at title contender when we did this preseason. You remain in title contender. You have been the most impressive user of the league so far. You have yet to lose a game. This is open and shut for me. Title contender.
Yeah, I have a couple of fun games coming up. I just want to point out I play ranked number 4 Texas, 6 Alabama, 9 Florida. I play Steele's dog shit Oregon Ducks, and then I play you at the end. So a couple of fun games. So we'll see. At Bama obviously is the one I want. But also playing against Willie, he's fun, and even Texas too. I mean, hopefully we can get that game scheduled before the last hour. But yeah, a couple good matchups.
Dan Warden literally just said we want Bama. I need you to lock in. Allen's South Carolina Gamecocks. He has shown a great offensive diversity when guys, try to contain Nick Harbor. He's shown the ability to kind of, move on from that, hit the second and third read in games that I've seen. His game he played against Troy, that might have been like game of the year, honestly, in terms of like the back and forth. It was close all the way throughout. Really, really fun game to watch. Is he a title contender? I don't know, or is he just top of playoff race? I'm going back and forth here.
I personally think Allen's the second best person in the league user right now.
Uh-huh.
I know he got preseason we're like, yeah, South Carolina stinks. Allen can score, right? His defense at times is horrific. Like I don't even know what I'm watching. Right? Like Dan beats him if Dan throws that ball faster at the end of the game, right? When Allen was on an all-out blitz. Troy took it super close to Allen, but couldn't get it done. So Allen's in that title contender to me. I put him over Wozy, and I feel like I have to put him over Dan because he literally just beat him. I do think honestly, if I had to put money on anyone to win, like if I excluded myself, I'd put it on Allen 100%. Like I have that much confidence in him to get it done, especially in this game. This game is very wide open, and that's kind of how he plays.
I think I might agree with you looking at the teams. I know I'm saying that right after saying he might even have been a title contender, but yeah, I mean I think he probably beats King if they play. He literally just beat Dan, and then what was it he beats, and then we can go on down.
Remaining schedule. He's ranked number 7 now. At home versus Tennessee, at Texas A&M, home versus Minnesota, at Clemson.
Ah man.
So he could finish 10-2.
Yeah, he could. So the unfortunate thing is, and this is just the way they did the playoff seeding. He's probably not going to get a first round bye unless he beats you in the conference championship game, and then he will. But he could be ranked like number 2, number 3 in the country and not get a bye just because of the format. So that's kind of tough. The fact that he has to play that extra game, but I don't think it'll be an issue for him. Yeah, middle title contender here.
How am I supposed to say Florida? Florida?
Florida.
It's not Florida. It's Florida.
It's Florida.
It's an O. It's not an AR. It's not Florida.
Florida. I don't know.
Weird.
I have the most generic accent in the world, so I don't know. Couldn't even place it. Austin's Auburn Tigers. Again, this is a bit of an FSU syndrome where the second user is way better than the first. Granted, and this is going to be... Oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this. P-Town has looked better than Austin so far. Sorry, y'all. You can clip that. It is what it is. Where do you have his Auburn Tigers?
Yeah, literally right after P-Town. What?
No, that's fine. I'm saying I said okay. That's fine. We move.
Yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, I mean, it's first he's not making the playoffs. He's got no chance, but he's going to be annoying to play against. Does he have a chance to play spoiler? I mean, not really. He's got Kentucky. Actually, I take that back. Kentucky, Miami, and Bama.
Oh, man.
I take that back 100%. Rank 5, rank 11, and rank 6. So he literally is Mr. Spoiler. So just the key to playing Austin is to play him at nighttime because he only wants to play during the day when he's working from home. So you got to get him when he doesn't want to play.
Yeah, Morty would have really liked for that game to be pain. I'll say that. Having a nice free win here, heading the playoffs would have been nice. Instead he plays Austin, so that's tough.
It's tough though. I mean, these people are scouting. They're doing bringing visits, and I know Phil was crying about this, but he's not wrong. Where it's like, okay, like now all of a sudden, I have three recruits coming, and now I gotta play, someone who's just gonna sweat their ass off, at 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. For sure, it's tough.
It is. Only 4 more guys left, y'all, and then we move to the. I kind of forgot that we had like other stuff like, ahead of this, but yeah, Florida, however you want to say it. The Florida Gators. No, but we talk about Cloud's Tennessee Vols. Of all users in the league, I've watched Cloud the least, so I need you to educate me on that.
I watch him the most for no reason, just to see people rage. Offense is so bad. Defense obviously is very good. Should have beat Dan. Just literally the offense at times looks horrific. He lost to Willie in Florida, and then lost to Dan. Beat Cincinnati by a lot. I beat him. So it's just kind of like player wise mid, but like playing at Tennessee is frisky to me because that. Like your offense line is going to get worked. He's playing at South Carolina in the next game, so that'll be his biggest test at this point to kind of see if he can kind of turn his season around. But
that's fun.
I don't know. I feel like frisky.
James Pierce Jr. might make light work of the South Carolina.
He's literally like when Madden came out with abilities and Aaron Donald would get like 50 sacks. I wasn't in BL at that point, but it was insane. Like right where the guy would just like it's automatic, and I've seen you play at Tennessee. It's a nightmare. It's like I said, not fun.
Problem. I'm gonna put him top of frisky.
Florida. I don't know, man.
Now we'll get there. It's okay. Listen,
I can't. I'm not talking about Willie's team. I can't say I'm gonna get. I can't even say the word.
Just call them the Gators. Yeah, no one will doubt you for it.
You're Mr. Gator. You can do that. So
Sean's Georgia Bulldogs. Has he won a game yet?
Bottom dweller. Sean, better than expected person. Like he's actually funny. Beat the Seminoles, who I don't know was their team, 35-0, and then lost every other game. Mm-hmm. So, respectfully, bottom dwellers.
Oh, Ben said he beat Miller Time. That changes everything. He goes from bottom dwellers all the way to bottom dwellers. Beautiful stuff. The Florida Gators. Will's Florida Gators has been very impressive to me.
Yeah. Will's been, like I said, been in that P-Town Allen all week. Game anyone, and everyone's like, no, I don't want to play you. Like, let's be real. Like, no one wants to play you. Like, it's fine. So that's, like I said, they've all played each other, so they've gotten that like. They can go, right? And Willie's one of those guys. I said this. I gave him props on the preseason show that I thought he was better than what he was being accounted for. Losing to Morty, pretty trash. Losing to King, again, pretty trash for him. Got blown out by King. So we've seen a win at Bama. We've seen beating Tennessee. It's really it. Willie needs to be tested a little more. I'm sorry, he beat Allen too. I take that back. Which was at home. I was watching that in my kitchen, I think, after hockey one night. And that was an electric game. All of Allen's games are electric, again, because no defense. But he's got Texas and LSU, and then Georgia, Florida State. So,
okay. So
Willie's good. Playoff race, 6-2 right now.
2 sure wins, a probable loss, and then, we'll see about that. We'll see about that 4th game.
Yeah.
I'm not. People were saying title contender. I'm not there with Will right now. I'm not there.
No, I don't think he beats Allen. I think Allen still owns him. Even though he beat him in the swamp.
He's in the middle. He's in the middle of the playoff race for me. Also, y'all, I'm not putting half the damn SEC in the title contender. Be serious. I gotta stand up for my other conferences here at some point. But no, playoff race. I think between Hero and Troy feels about right to me.
Yeah.
Even though
so we have 5 title contenders. We had 3 on the OG tier list.
I'm starting I'm getting less and less comfortable with having Wozy and title contender, but I also
move him down. Do it.
Yeah. It's so funny. This is what happened in the preseason too. Where we just kind of looked at it and we were like, you know what? Now let me move them down.
Do you know when people do those things on I don't know what it's on. I don't know if it's TikTok or whatever, but they'll have a top whatever and they'll get a player that pops up and you have to rank them.
Oh, blind rankings, yeah.
Yeah, so like you kind of do it, and then you're like, oh no, I messed up. So like
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
I know. Because I was
But
looking,
like
I was looking at you, King, Al, and Dan, and I was like, I don't know about this.
yeah, I don't think Wozy beats any of them. But it's like 6-1 or 7-1. It's hard not to say. But yeah, playoff race. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being in the playoffs. That's the first step.
Absolutely, that's the first step, and yeah, I mean, he's shown that he can compete with a lot of guys, so I don't hate it for him. Also, top of playoff race is still really good, y'all. Like that's still a really good place to be. Last but not least, King, not Louisville King, but King's Texas Longhorns. Hook 'em.
Yeah, 4-2, ranked number 4.
Yep.
Texas. So preseason, we're like, all right, these teams are good. This team, Texas is literally a top 2 or 3 team in the game.
Yes.
That's just by no stretch of the imagination. They are very good with their abilities and things like that. Kings 2 losses, South Carolina and Bama, right? His win, he beat Wozy. Like so, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't, but beat Steel by 3. Beat I don't know if this was which Auburn this was, but this was Austin Auburn. Beat him by 3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Tennessee by 3. What the? Very close games. I don't. He's playoff race right now. I'd put him probably between Willie and Troy.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, he's annoying to play against, and he's got a good team. So
I'm also, this is on the fly. I'm putting Will ahead of Hero. That's off nothing
yeah,
but
good.
vibes. That's off nothing but vibes. And then let me delete this row real quick. All right, so
He's got remaining games for Texas: Oklahoma, at LSU, at Florida, at Cincinnati, and then Colorado. So we'll learn. It will be a playoff race to a fringe playoff, or potential playoff race to title contenders with these next matchups coming up.
we shall see. Dan DeFrisky, Illinois DeFrisky, perfect list. Say lost balls. No, but these are our tiers. As you look at them, I don't know if you have like BLM pulled up or anything. I'll just read it off real quick. Louisville, South Carolina, Alabama are in title contenders. Playoff race: Ohio State, Florida, Arizona, Texas, Kentucky, Wisconsin. Fringe playoffs: Utah, Miami, Minnesota, Michigan, Frisky, Tennessee, Florida State, Auburn, Clemson, James Madison, Oregon. Yes, James Madison, then Oregon in that order, y'all. And then Texas A&M, Mid, West Virginia, USC, Cincinnati, Washington, Penn State, Colorado, Boise State, TCU, and then bottom dwellers: Illinois, Georgia, Notre Dame. So you said you got the chance to overrule me on something, so you get the chance now. Whatever you say, I'll do it. So what are you thinking here?
I think it's pretty good,
Okay.
honestly. I like that the fringe playoffs is 2 U's and 2 M's. I think that's pretty neat. Uh,
Um,
it's hard because sometimes we're like, all right, JMU's over Oregon because he beat him, but then you're like, oh well, this guy beat. It's so hard. Everything's so subjective
yeah.
that it's really difficult to kind of to lay out the tiers. So it's one of those things where like, yeah, can Matt at USC win 3 games in a row and move up? Sure. But like we don't know. Like so it is based on kind of the record, based on who they've played. And some people have had cakewalk schedules, some people have played really difficult schedules. So we have to take into account everything. But no, there's nothing I don't think we should be moving around. I think it's pretty good.
Justin, I'm pretty sure King's a New Mexico State fan, not New Mexico. Although I don't know if he's a fan of both teams. So, but yeah, I have that on my TV right now. It's been rough. Yeah, I like where we're at. I mean, the only things I'm kind of looking at and just like wondering a little bit, I feel like we might be disrespecting USC a little bit by putting them in mid. I mean, he's had a really bad last 2 games, but like if you look at the totality of his season, I think he's been probably a bit better than this. So,
But he's not
um,
fringe playoffs, and he's not a frisky person. He's like the most calm human being,
he
right?
is
He's a
he is not a
like,
frisky
blackjack
person.
dealer
That's
or
true.
craps dealer. They're not
That's true.
frisky. He said, all right, these are the rules. I'm going to abide by the rules. I'm going to do my job. Like nothing frisky.
CMAS is the definition of a frisky person, so he belongs here. Is like, what the fuck,
Yeah,
EA?
just like figuratively and like just every part of Siemens is frisky.
I'm getting fucked.
Literally every single part of him is frisky.
Um, yeah, I feel good about this. Those are our tiers. They will go in announcements pretty much as soon as the stream's over. So if you did not watch this and you're listening back, you can expect to see those in announcements pretty soon. But we move on to this fun little slideshow I've made, and we're talking recruits, y'all. We're talking recruiting. So I'll just like read off the like ordering of everyone in the conference, and then like Warren, like whatever you want to highlight, we can kind of like delve into it. But ACC, we've got Miami and Clemson kind of in their own tier, ranked 5 and 11, also with only 2 5 stars on the board. James Madison, that's embarrassing for y'all. Like, that's embarrassing for the Florida States and Kentuckys of the world. But we got James Madison at third, Kentucky, Florida State, Louisville, and then West Virginia and Notre Dame, who have yet to recruit anyone. That is interesting. We can talk about that. Big 12, I am in first, then Arizona, then in a tier by themselves is Illinois, who just is recruiting these ground chips, these 3 and 2 stars, and then you've got Cincinnati, Wisconsin, A&M, Colorado, TCU, all struggling. We'll just say that. Big 10, USC really impressive again, 3 5 stars, 7 4 stars. Ohio State just chewing up some 4 stars. Michigan, Wisconsin, Oregon in their own tier, and then you've got further on down, Penn State, then Boise State, then Minnesota, all the way down. Although I will say Minnesota is in the hunt for 2 5 stars. Like, we'll probably get them, so that's subject to change. And then finally, the SEC is just dominating recruiting in general. Everyone other than Auburn in the SEC is ranked ahead of the entire Big 12 in recruiting. So that's cool. And it's also pretty sim. Alabama just fucking destroying everyone in recruiting. And Texas, LSU, rounding up the top 3, and then South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Auburn. So as I kind of talk through that, what do you want to highlight? Like, who has surprised you in a positive or negative way?
There's so much to really you can cover in this, and I think the biggest thing is just like the pipelines, right? You look at some of these teams, like I know like Colorado has one of the most difficult recruiting like
Yes.
ways to recruit, just because there's literally like there's no football players in Denver. Like what? Like they don't even like it's just not a thing. You really see how like the West Coast teams like USC, Oregon, and then you have like the South with Texas, and then the Southeast. It's just like there's so many good players. So like there's if you're in one of those pipelines, like sure you might not get everybody, but you're going to get something, and that something is better than like a Wisconsin wide receiver. So like the Southeastern Conference teams have such an advantage, and as well as like the West Coast teams, just because like there's so much talent. So it's like you're kind of like in this weird thing where like if you're a lesser team, how are you going to kind of put everything together, and like what's your strategy? Like for Phil, like he got a bunch of 3 stars, which is what he needed to do to improve his team. So he's picking those guys off while other people are fighting or getting no recruits at all, which is horrific. So everyone has their own
Mm-hmm.
strategy, but it's been really interesting to see like it laid out like this.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, some of the people who have no recruits, like, that's just, part of that is because they don't quite have, like, the pipeline advantages or the institutional advantages to, like, go, like, off and running. So, like, it might take them longer to get recruits, but they'll still end up with a good recruiting class. Ben did tell me that he will have the second best recruiting class in the ACC when all is said and done. I don't know about that. I think that's awfully, he's not passing Clemson or Miami, I don't think, but we'll see. He's got a plan. I would identify obviously. Where is it? Notre Dame with 0 recruits. Someone needs to hold an intervention for Nick. I don't know what he's doing. Notre Dame's like one of the top 10 recruiting powers in the country, despite their location, and we can't have that. We can't have him put together like just a 3 star and 2 star recruiting class at the end because these 5 stars and 4 stars are going quickly. James Madison, even though it's all been 3 stars, like honestly, Phil's been doing a lot better than I expected. He's kind of geographically isolated. I mean, not isolated, I should say, but he's in a kind of weird area, like the DMV area for recruiting, and yet he finds himself with 6 3 stars, excuse me. Um, I'll get some more guys. I know Hero's gonna get some more guys. Illinois seems like they have a very specific strategy of chewing up these 2 stars, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, he's finding some gems. But it's been fun. I mean, I think y'all in the South, and I'm gonna say y'all. I'm not calling you out specifically, Warren, or like anyone specific out, but I think the South as a whole needs to take a look in the mirror and kind of figure out how they let Dan do this, because no one in a 32-user league should be getting 11 5 stars with like 2 more on the way. That should not happen. I'm sorry.
So hard. It's so hard because I mean, like I've gotten some really good players, like actual like athletic like demons. So it's you got to like once you see Bama's name come up on your like the guys you're interested in, I just go ahead, just take them.
You're
I'll take
LSU
that guy.
though. You're LSU.
Yeah, but I'm not wasting.
Okay.
Look, if you his assistant coaches are probably better than like every coach combined. So like we're not neck and neck. Like I was behind by a little on one player, and I was all in, and every week he was gaining on me. So there's literally nothing I could have done to get that player. So I've learned just to bow out because I'm wasting my points. So like all
Oh
these
yeah, no, that,
bonuses and things like that, it's so tough. So you got to try to sneak a couple past him. But yeah, it's what are you
yeah.
gonna do when you get 50 points out, the first 30 players or 35 players like right off the rip, like it's tough to really compete.
We'll
So.
talk. We'll talk offline about something you can do to kind of see whether the team that you're ahead of will
Connor,
end up
we
gaining on
did
you or
bring
not.
Troy in here too, though.
Oh,
Troy joined
Troy's in here. Oh
the
my
chat if
gosh.
you want to
Okay.
kind of get to.
Interviews. Troy, much love to you. I think this is my first time talking to you on BLN since preseason, so much love. We were talking, I don't know how much of the tiers you caught, but we were talking about the really kind of interesting trajectory your season's had where, you started off with two of the uglier losses of the season, and then honestly, since then you've looked like a title contender, in terms of your four, and you've looked incredible. So I guess my first question for you is, where did the change come in those first, from the first 2 weeks to now? Is it mentality? Is it strategic? Like how'd that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of the strategic, it's a little bit of the mentality as well. First and foremost, I think everyone that plays me knows I want to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can talk me into like Warren for an entire like 3 cycles to throwing the football and throwing him some interceptions,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a middling to bottom user. I think the first 2 games, I didn't have a playbook set. I think I cycled between Alabama. Don't really even remember the blur that the Miami game was, and went back to my roots with the first couple of playbooks that I started with, and from there realized that that's the fit, and that's where we're going to be. So that's been the biggest change, playbook.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Go ahead, Warren. Sorry.
Uh, no, I think that's a big thing. I mean, watching your game against Allen, Troy, like you had, I don't know what formation is that. There's like eight running backs. Just like the
Pistol,
options. Yeah,
the
it was
full
just
house. Yep.
there's a lot going on, and it looks literally so annoying to play against. And I was like, you were just Allen's players are not only getting like run block, they were getting pancaked. Like it was brutal. So I don't look forward to playing that at all in my lifetime, but probably gonna have to at some point. But it was
Well,
pretty interesting to see. And just to point out, you have a receiver, Barry Brown, right? Who's a
yes, sir.
demon. The only guy who's catching touchdowns on your team, already 1,000 yards, right? 30 catches,
Yes.
1,000 yards. So
Yep.
like having that player, and my question is pretty much this: is I've seen you throw bombs to him, and you click on and you kind of swerve with him to
Mhm.
get positioning or get like a boost.
Yep.
What exactly is that? Like, what is the thought process behind that? Because I don't know if anyone else catches it, but I've noticed you'll bomb it, you'll click on, and you'll kind of get to the spot.
Yeah, so if you can, it kind of depends on where your safeties are, right? But sometimes when you got an inside safety, if that other opponent doesn't flip on to them right away and you're bending your route, the CPU sort of bends with you, sort of like they do, sort of like they do in Madden. They're like forced to adapt to what the receiver's doing. I'm just trying to create space, really. Sometimes it doesn't play out that way, especially if you play the guys that can really switch on well. But I'll be honest with you, with 98 speed, all of that stuff that I just said is really negligible because typically we're just running past you. That's especially when you've got a threat of 4 different running backs hitting you in the mouth. Um, so that we're excited for not only Barry and Brown, but I think somebody on my team doesn't get enough praise because they don't get thrown to as much. But uh, Brandon White, sophomore wide receiver, just as fast, not as tall, not as good, but he's right behind Berrien. He saved the game against South Carolina this past week, and definitely puts teams in a bind because if I get stuck in a situation where it's 3rd and 17 and I'm passing, who I'm probably going to. Getting another option like that on the field is huge. Like dealing with 295 plus speed guys in this game is going to be a problem.
97 change of direction. So talk about a hidden weapon, right? Don't forget about Brandon White, 4 catches, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. But
Like
Platinum
kick return.
Shifty, Platinum shifty. Yeah, no, that means he moves. But it's finding these little players on your team, right? I think we all have, where we're like, oh, this guy does this. We have such big rosters that it's cool to find specific roles for players. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. But it's been a fun season, man. I love that juice that college football has gotten in BL. I love this stream. I saw it when I had to log off. I saw like 26 people in there. So we're not even into playoffs. So we're excited. I'm honestly, every game I play, I know BL. I can't sleep on anybody. I got Tennessee coming up here in a minute, and we've got that Louisville game circled. So I think that's going to be a huge. I think that one might determine the ACC this year.
Yeah, that was gonna be interesting. Yeah, especially because I think King does have kind of the inside track on the conference championship game right now. I do want to ask you, since I haven't like pulled up your recruiting class. You know, it's a little thin so far. Only 4 guys signed, but like you could say like the same is true for like half the league right now. So that's not a criticism. Yeah. It just is what it is. Are there any specific like position groups or like any potential recruits you're getting that you're especially excited about as we head into the next season?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go too far into the guys that haven't made that commitment yet, but the guys that have, we've got offense and defense. We need running backs because love the running backs we've got right now, but we are a stable team. So we'll take 5, 6, 7 running backs at a time if I need to, because I'll get them all a carry. The guys that we have coming in the backfield, 92 speed kind of guys, I'm hoping that they are turning into an upgrade when these older guys age out from a program, but also cornerback that Allen graciously broke up with so that I could have Carmichael. Can't remember his name. Antonio Carmichael. I think it's a GOAT name for a cornerback. I'm really excited about the legacy guys. Especially being in like relatively new into like a BL cycle, seeing some of the legacy guys. Shout out to Morgan Rowe. I think one of those 4 guys that I signed is probably going to be one of the Kentucky legacy group. Yeah,
we'll do.
So,
I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a Hall of Fame. I don't know if it's gonna be just like a Wall of Honor or something for each team. But we're gonna find a way to highlight the great AI players in this league too. So yeah, maybe this this Carmichael dude, maybe one of the quarterbacks you mentioned. Yeah, we'll see. God damn, New Mexico guy just got plastered. Sorry, I'm watching the Montana State New Mexico game. That was kind of crazy, but
thrilling. I get it.
Any
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask like any final things you want to say or any final thoughts.
Yeah, I found also. I mean, I said in the last time I was on the show, the offensive line. I'm just having trouble evaluating offensive line. Obviously, like we see the size, we see the speed or the strength, but like when you get into how do you interpret 78 run block finesse? You know what I mean? I'm not really sure where the lines are, so I'm just kind of hoping and praying for some of the linemen we've got coming on, but that's recruiting. We're still focused on this next season or this next week.
That
especially
does
after
feel to me
that
like
game.
I don't think you need to necessarily scout every position group, but I do think offensive line is one of the ones you kind of need to scout to see. Do they have quick drop? Do they have pocket shield, play action shield, like some of these helpful abilities? I am struggling with the same thing in Utah, so we shall see. But thanks so much for joining us, Troy. I appreciate it. And
of course, man, appreciate
number 5 Kentucky. Number 5 Kentucky. I'm gonna look at it right now. Didn't think we'd see that, but really an impressive season, and look forward to seeing likely in the playoffs. Look forward to seeing what you do. All right. So any final? I mean, I guess we do have more recruiting talk to get to in terms of the 5-star watch, but any final thoughts, Warren, on what I've said so far in terms of recruiting, or should we move on to the 5-star highlighting?
Yeah, if you go to like a wedding, or I'll give you an example. So we had a baby shower, right? And we like people had note cards and says, give it. What is one piece of advice you would give, expecting parents? And like everything's stupid. Everyone's like, oh, get sleep while you can. Oh, this, like whatever, all that nonsense. But if you could poll 32 users and say, hey, what would you change about recruiting, knowing what you know now? I'm sure we would get such unique, different answers, because it was like a learn on the fly thing for a lot of us, because offline is one thing, but being against actual psychopaths who are like divvying up, point by point on players, there's so much to learn, and there's so much to really like different ways to go about it. Look at Phil and how he has limited points and has to just get bodies in there, and then you have Bama who's like, I can just spend. It's all over the place. So I think we all have learned a lot in terms of recruiting. I mean, how do you feel about that?
No, you're right. I mean, I'll definitely like I grinded recruiting a lot, obviously, before the season started. I thought like I had a certain approach and I thought it was going to work, and to a certain degree it has. But I've also learned some hard lessons along the way, and I'll definitely kind of like bring a different mentality into season 2 than I did season 1. It's gonna be fascinating to see how guys continue to kind of develop their teams and develop their rosters moving forward as we continue to recruit, and also in terms of coordinators, whether guys want to go for like the motivator coordinators to get those offseason boosts, or maybe tactician to get like the in-game boosts, recruiter if you want to kind of like double down on the recruiting boosts that you can get and kind of have their starting interest higher. So we'll see what guys do over the offseason and heading into season 2. But getting to the 5-star watch again, I'm just a graphics genius, ladies and gentlemen. It's really me and Coda here in terms of graphic design. 5-star watch, we've got Alabama all by themselves with 11 committed 5-star players. USC has 3, Florida and South Carolina have 2, Clemson, Miami, Penn State, LSU, and Tennessee all with 1. Warren Center here. I mean, do you want to talk about the 5-star you recruited real quick?
I mean, wait, like in what context?
No, just who is he? How does he fit into your scheme?
Oh, Larry Key. All right, let me tell you about Larry Key, run stopper out of Grand Prairie, Texas, right? The fat, and listen, no joke, the fattest man in the draft, 340 pounds, right? 6'6", demon. I was in a recruiting battle with Nick. I had a clear lead, and he was spending points still, and that's why he has no one. So I guess he's got a bunch of points and players he has no chance at. So respect. But yeah, Larry Key comes in as a run stuffer, and it's important to for me to kind of work on my offensive line and my defensive line because of seniors, and just my defensive line really is no depth. There's really, my best pass rusher. Could be Harold Perkins, but I use him off ball. I have a freshman playing, so it's not like I have anyone crazy good. But yeah, we got platinum mental abilities, platinum, physical abilities. So Larry Key's ready to hopefully be a starter week 1.
Love that. I'm sure he will be. Also, maybe a bit OTT there. I also wanted to highlight some of the major recruiting battles that are going on right now in terms of these 5 stars. So these are they will be the 4 closest ones. Nick Littlejohn and Ezekiel Stoke, one out of Cincinnati, one out of Grand Rapids, 2 kind of Midwest guys right here. The first one is really a 3-way battle here between Michigan, Wisconsin, Cincinnati. If you like really zoom in to the influence, it does look like Michigan is kind of pulling away, and you see that here with the arrow, and the Ezekiel Stoke race, Michigan, again, that's only heading in the top 3, so we got a long ways to go with this, but it does look like Michigan's kind of pulling away in that one as
Look
well.
at Nick on there. Like, get out. I hope he's not putting points.
Michigan.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like if you're Nick, you're done. If you're Justin, you're just throwing your points in and praying.
Yes. Nick should get out, and Austin should also pull the scholarship that is offered to Stoke. Although I don't know if Austin's paying any attention to recruiting. He doesn't have to, but I think it would be good to kind of learn the system before he takes up Boston College next year. Who is this? That's next week. I'm tripping. And then we also have Adrian DeMarco out of Las Vegas. It looks like Minnesota will all but likely get him. That is the 5-star I was referring to earlier, the power back, halfback, and then Theo Rowe, quarterback. That it is Notre Dame and Cincinnati in a 2-man heat, and it does look like Nick is going to get his guy.
Yeah, so that's good for him. I mean, I don't know if Cincinnati has the points, but it's not over. It's definitely not over with that. But we don't know who's hard selling, who's adding points, who's got this, who's got that. So it looks like Nick's gonna get a 5-star quarterback. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And there's no regression in this game, so he will have good attribute boosts regardless of what Nick does with him in game. So that is beautiful from Notre Dame's perspective. We move on now to questions. I don't know how many of these we have. It's like 7 or 8, I think. I appreciate you all. We had like a bunch of guys submit questions. So I appreciate you all for doing that. It was like Dan, I think Steele did. Alan Seamass, a couple other guys, so I appreciate that. But the first question is the most underrated and the most overrated user this season. What do you think?
It's so hard for me not to be toxic and just be like, you know what I mean? It's
No,
so
we're
hard.
talking overrated. Be toxic, dude. Like literally, be toxic is fine.
I know, but I dump on the same people and over. So I'm gonna have to pick somebody different this time. Underrated, I think, even going in, I'll still stay with Willie.
Sure.
As much as he stinks, I do think that he doesn't get the respect that he deserves, and that's just because he hasn't really been around too long. But hopefully, people kind of see how he plays now, and I'll give him his props. Um, Overrated's tough because I feel like we're all pretty honest with like people's skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I mean, I always use Hootie as the example, and I'm tired of being a dead horse, right? Like, I just he's a good player, which is fine. But like when people talk like that, someone's like, "Oh, they're this or they're that," and I can't wait to see his offense, and I'm going to need Hootie's custom play. Like, shut up! Like, I don't care, man. Like, I don't care. Like, we're all running the same stuff, or we're running, whatever. Like, it's not like he's done anything super crazy. And I don't mean that as a slight at all, but like I'm just tired of hearing of it. Um, but yeah, another overrated, probably Cody, right? We always expect him to do better.